Hello, good morning all. Thank you for the opportunity given to us, Group A, to discuss our presentation material about expanding circle English varieties, Chinese English, and Indonesian language. So, here is our explanation. Keep on watching.
Expanding circles. The expanding circle of English varieties, a concept proposed by linguist Brad Kachru, categorized English usage into three circles based on its global spread and functions. The three circles are 1. Inner circle. These are countries where English is the native or primary language, such as the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. 2. Outer circle. In this circle, English is used as a second language for communication within multilingual societies. It includes countries like India, Nigeria, South Africa, and many in Southeast Asia. 3. Expanding circle. The expanding circle consists of countries where English is learned as a foreign language and it's primarily used for specific purposes like education, business, or international communication. In China and Indonesia, also some other countries such as Nepal, Myanmar, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, English is a tool for accessing global opportunities and participating in international discourse. These varieties of English in the expanding circle demonstrate the adaptability and evolution of the language in diverse linguistic and cultural contexts.
China English refers to the variety of English spoken and used in the People's Republic of China. It is influenced by the native language and culture of China, making it a distinct variety of English. Historical context. China's exposure to English began during the late Qing Dynasty and early Republic of China period, primarily through foreign trade and diplomacy. English education became more formalized in the mid-20th century with an emphasis on British English. Characteristic pronunciation. China English often has distinct pronunciation features influenced by Mandarin Chinese, such as the pronunciation of R as L. Vocabulary. It incorporates loanwords from Chinese language, which may not be found in other varieties of English. Grammar and syntax. There may be differences in sentence structure influenced by the syntax of the Chinese language. Usage. China English is widely taught and used in education and business settings in China. It is primarily used as a second language or foreign language, and its proficiency can vary widely among speakers. Influence. China's growing economic and political influence has contributed to the increasing prominence of China English in global communication.
Indonesia English definition. Indonesia English refers to varieties of English spoken and used in Indonesia. It reflects the influence of the language and culture, resulting in unique English variety. Historical context. English was introduced during the colonial period when Indonesia was under Dutch rule, but it Chinese dominates during the British occupation of part of Indonesia. Indonesian English developed further with the increasing importance of English in global communication. Characteristic. Pronunciation. Indonesian English may exhibit some pronunciation difference influenced by Indonesian phonology, such as the pronunciation of the S, T, or D. Vocabulary. It includes loanwords from Indonesian and regional language, making it distinct from other varieties of English. Grammar and syntax. There may be variation in sentence structure influenced by the syntax of Indonesian. Usage. Indonesian English is widely taught and used in education and business settings in Indonesia. It serves as a second language for many Indonesians and is often used in official documents and publication. Influence. The multicultural and multilingual context of Indonesian contributed to the differs nature of Indonesia English.
Differences and commonalities. Differences between China English and Indonesian English. First is pronunciation. China English influenced by Mandarin Chinese phonology. It may feature R pronounced as L and other distinct phonetic variation. Indonesian English pronunciation may incorporate elements of Indonesian phonology, leading to unique pronunciation patterns. Second, vocabulary. China English includes loanwords from Chinese language, resulting in a vocabulary they may not be found in other varieties of English. Indonesian English incorporates loanwords from Indonesian and regional language, creating a distinctive vocabulary. Third, grammar and syntax. China English sentence structure may differ from Standard English due to the influence of Chinese syntax. Indonesian English may exhibit variation in sentence structure influenced by the syntax of Indonesian. Commonalities. First, used as a second language. Both varieties are primarily used as a second language or born language in their respective countries. Proficiency level in both China English and Indonesian English can vary widely among speakers. Second, global significance. Both China English and Indonesian English play increasingly important roles in global communication, reflecting the growing influence of their respective countries. Third, unique culture blend. Both varieties showcase a unique blend of English with the culture and language of the region, making them distinct and culturally rich form of English. Fourth, challenges and opportunities. Speakers of both varieties face similar challenges such as maintaining grammatical accuracy and pronunciation clarity, and proficiency in these varieties offers opportunities for better communication and international collaboration.
Influence of native language. Influence on China English. First, Mandarin influence. China English is heavily influenced by Mandarin Chinese, the most widely spoken language in China. Pronunciation different, such as the substitution of R with I, stem from Mandarin phonology. Second, vocabulary borrowings. China English incorporate loanword and expression from various Chinese language and dialect. Terms like kung fu, dim sum, and feng shui are examples of vocabulary borrowed from Chinese language. Third, syntax and grammar. The sentence structure and word order in China English may be influenced by Chinese syntax. For instance, the use of the subject, verb, object structure in common in both Mandarin and China English. Next, influence on Indonesian English. First, Bahasa Indonesia influence. Indonesian English reflect the influence of Bahasa Indonesia, the official language of Indonesia. Pronunciation difference such as the pronunciation of T as T or D can be attributed to Bahasa Indonesia phonology. Second, loanword from Indonesia. Indonesian English incorporate loanword from Bahasa Indonesia and regional language. Terms like batik, sambal, and angklung are examples of vocabulary borrowed from Indonesia. Third, sentence structure. The sentence structure in Indonesia English may occasionally resemble Bahasa Indonesia, SVO, subject, verb, object structure.
Okay, my name is Wulan with my friends.
Hello, my name is Claudius. Hello.
I have one question for you.
Sure.
Do you have any advice for people who want to communicate well in English, the context of China or Indonesia speaking communities?
Oh, Chinese or English, Indonesian speaking communities. Well, personally, if I were to speak with them in their own communities, I'm referring to Indonesian speaking communities, I would like to learn some of their language. But since we're talking about Indonesian speaking communities, we know that I'm Indonesian, so it would be easier. I don't know about Chinese, but for myself, I would also personally try to learn Mandarin, maybe like 2, 3, or 5 words, some daily conversational things, some basic things that for them to understand us, so that there will be no misunderstanding. And then that's the first one. Second one, what I would like to advise for those who want to speak well with them is to code switch. Now, have you heard about code switch? Code switching? Code switching. It's in the applied linguistics actually. So like it's actually about us jadi campur-campur bahasa begitu. And so that like in this case Chinese.
Jaksel gitu.
Yes, exactly like Jaksel. In this case Chinese, because like I would not elaborate further about Indonesian, because of course we're Indonesian, we know how to speak with them, like we're Indonesian ourselves. But for Chinese, what I would advise is we would try to incorporate Chinese also in our English. So like you've probably learned about Chinese English. That's a good way to start to learn it, so that we could use it and to communicate with them, Chinese people in the Chinese communities. In that way, it could work. We could communicate well. The message that we're trying to deliver will be delivered well to them. So that's my advice for those who like to communicate well in English and the Chinese communities.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so there was already an informant next to me. Can you introduce yourself?
Thank you. My name is Rasul Asambaka. I'm a student in English department.
Okay, so our question is, do you see any specific trends in the use of the English language within the Chinese and Indonesian speaking communities, such as shift in grammar or the use of particular words?
So in the level of words, in terms of the Chinese speakers, there's a big difference in first the way they pronounce things. So Chinese speakers, they usually don't have an equivalent in vowels. They don't really stress the level of vowels because they don't have the equivalent in their own Chinese language. So for example, words such as sleep and slip, they would be the same pronunciation in Chinese speakers. Another example would be sheep and chip. Those would be the same pronunciation, so that would be the unique example in the level of words. And then next one would be sentences. The Chinese people, they have their own grammatical structure and the way they structure their sentences, which influence their ability in speaking English. So for example, in English, the normal structure would be subject, predicate, object, and adverb. So for example, Josh enters the room. That's the normal sentence in English. But in China, the way they structure their sentences would be subject, adverb, predicate, and object. So for example, the previous sentence, Josh quietly entered room. So yeah, in terms of the uniqueness, in terms of the differences, those two will be my answer. Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Sylviana, and now I'm going to interview one of my classmates. Can you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Sylviana. I'm a third semester in English department.
Okay, now I'm going to interview her about Indonesian English and Chinese English.
Yes, of course.
So, Tiara, have you encountered instances of Chinese English or Indonesian English in your daily life or work? If so, could you share some examples?
Okay. Yes, I have. I do, but for Chinese English, I really see omit. Yeah, I only hear from some tourists maybe who come to Manado when I hang out to Pandas or Megawin. But for Indonesian English, I always meet. Maybe like on campus when I meet my college friends, so they use English. Yeah, Indonesian English, sure. Indonesian accent, but I think not just like Indonesian accent, maybe they say like regional dialect from the original kayak asalnya mereka, and then kayak misalkan ada dari Toraja, like my friend Inal, she's from Toraja, kayak Toraja dialek, English campur Toraja. Terus apa ya, juga dari Batak bisa banyak juga toh. And then I think it's really understand to get it my Indonesian English. So like how do we communicate each other? Muti sangat paham sih Indonesian English. But for Chinese English jarang ditemukan.
Okay, that's all. Thank you, Mutiara. Thank you.
Now I'm here with Mutiara Sembiring. Now I have a question. Have you encountered instance of Chinese English or Indonesian English in your daily life?
Sure, Chinese English is when people who speak Mandarin translate phrases directly into English, sometimes resulting in phrases that might sound a bit different or unusual in standard. Indonesian English is when elements of Bahasa Indonesia are mixed into English, creating phrases that might not follow typical English grammar rules but are commonly used by speakers of Bahasa Indonesia when speaking English.
Hello, my name is Julia Pandensolang. Now I will interview one of my friends. Can you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Farah Ramadhani. I'm an English literature student at University of Samratulangi.
Okay, for the question is, how does education play a role in the formation of variety of English in Chinese and Indonesian speaking community?
Education is really important in how English is spoken in Chinese and Indonesian communities. The kind of English education people can divide them socially. If you have more education, you usually learn a more standard way of speaking English. But if you have less education, you might speak a more local and natural version of English. Also, being able to switch between local language and English affects how language mix. So education has a big impact on the different ways English is spoken.
Okay, thank you, Floren.
Thank you.